Hey everyone, this is the Awaken as Love podcast. Anayza is speaking. I'm really grateful to have my friend Melvin here with me today. So, this week I've been doing a lot of refinement and really honing in on the words of my work. And I wanted to share about my work this week on the podcast. And I've tried almost every day this week to record a video, but it is challenging for me just to speak for 30 minutes to an hour just about my work without having someone ask me questions or reflect back to me and really kind of feel that inter-exchange of inspiration. So I'm really grateful my friend Melvin is here. We're going to have a bit of a conversation and he's going to maybe ask me some questions. Hi, Melvin.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, for helping me.
Thank you for having me.
So yeah, I'll just share a bit about my work. Like, it's funny because at first I was gonna ask Melvin, "Oh, if you're interested in a session, what questions would you ask?" But then I realized that's actually not correct, because if someone was interested in a session, and they would ask me a ton of questions, I would just honestly say to them, if it resonates with you to work with me, then let's work together. I'm not really good at answering all the detailed questions because I feel like that's coming really from a place of cognitive linear thinking, and I feel like my work does address that, but that's not the basis of what I'm working with. And so really, people who want to work with me, it's just resonance. It's just kind of feeling that inspiration, the impulse, the call, and sometimes it makes sense to the mind and sometimes it doesn't. And I say that not to say that my work doesn't have tangible ramifications. How do you say that word? Ramifications in the outer world. Like, I have a client that I've been working with for a while now, and he came to me because he needed help filling his taxes. Like, he hasn't filled his taxes in years, and he feels resistance when he needs to invoice for his work. And so we did a lot of energetic work, ancestral work, soul work, and child work, and like lots of things around patriarchy and systems and contracts, all of these things to support him feeling energetically in alignment to filling out his taxes and invoicing for his work. And so the work I'm doing can have a lot of ramifications in our real world environment, but the impulse and energy that I use can feel separate, but it's not, which in some ways why I feel like it's not really, it may not be something that makes sense, but it is something that is of sense. And it's really experiential. It's really something to experience, not really have a cognitive dialogue about, which is just why I'm glad Melvin's here to support me in the cognition part of this transmission. And hopefully you can just feel the resonance of the work that I do. So there's a few ways I frame my work. Like, even having Melvin here is helping me have words. I've been, so a phrase that's come to me recently is quantum soul remembrance, because I work in multi-dimensional, multi-sensory realms, working with the soul, the energetic aspects of our body. I feel the soul is like in our aura field, and it holds our physical body, and it's also within our physical body. And remembrance is that I really feel that we are always and intrinsically whole and healed at all times. We just are in a state of forgetting. And my work is supporting people to remember that wholeness that is already within, and to literally to remember themselves. I feel like there are aspects of ourselves that are shown across a time frame continuum for different reasons, different traumas or wounds that have allowed energy to come into contracts that are no longer in use for us. So I support in the unweaving of those energetic contracts that are no longer in use, and a reweaving into like pathways of love that support us connecting with our wholeness and with our intentions and our purpose. So those are some words, and I work within the like ancestral realms, the emotional, energetic, soul, inner child, and really whatever is present. Like, one way I say is, I feel my work is a response to what is present, and I really through deep listening, prayer, and trust, I respond to what I sense is present in one moment. Okay. That's my intro. I feel like I was actually able to put words together. Thank you for just having your presence here.
Yeah, and I think when you were speaking, it seemed that I had questions pop up, and then you started to answer them, right? In sequence. So now it's like now figuring out what would be a question now, and it seems like there's I guess there's. And you gave the example of the guy with his taxes and having resistance there. And so what if you have someone who's unsure of, like, okay, they want to work with you and they found you through some way and they want to work with you, and how do you find but they don't know because they don't even know.
Yeah.
And is this conglomerate of different tools and organic way of seeing the unique experience, the way you help people, and do you help them can you help me clarify what I want or what I am looking to, the answers I'm looking for?
Yeah. So I heard like two questions. One is like, what do I do when someone comes to me? I feel resonance to work with you, but I don't understand what you do, and I don't really know what my intention is, and I don't know what I want right now.
Right.
So for me, I would be like, okay, let's just have a session, because I can't really, and this is where I'm like, I can't cognate the reasons why you should work with me if you don't have an intention, but I know in the energy, I feel in some ways there's a reason why there's the not knowing is present. And I'll know when we connect through the energy field what's disconnecting someone from having a really strong intention, or, because sometimes these words like intention, aspiration, goal, like these things that can feel external, I really do feel like what we want is who we truly are. And I feel like there are words that can land for us to connect with our inner state of being, and that's in a way that's like in this like flow way that allows the greater universe, God, source, to really meet us beyond our wildest dreams. But I feel it is important to have a guiding light. It's not attached to it or hold on to it and to control it, but to really feel a sense of ourselves, of feel a sense of our own path and our becoming, the fact that we matter, our own sense of empowerment, and to have some words around that takes us to the next step. And the next step isn't like the ultimate or anything, but I feel like if we can't even see that far, we're not really in the best service to ourselves to be able to enact it. Does that make, that makes, so I would be like, let's have a session, and I would tune into the energy of the not knowing, and like kind of go from there and then see what comes. And like I said, because the response is of such where we meet in the present moment, I'm not going to be able to say it beforehand, you know?
Yes.
And so the other question I heard you say was like, do you use different modalities or whatnot in your work? And so I feel like I my work is a conglomerate of many different modalities, and it's really a reflection of my own soul's gold print that I have spent time with getting to really know the language of myself, the language of my soul, and through that, and part of that is being very empathic and intuitive and all the clear words, and so that I can really like feel other people inside of me, and then also kind of trace the story of their energy to kind of understand where it's living, like if it's living in an inner child entanglement, or if it's living through an ancestral or soul. But more specifically, if I was to list the modalities that I draw upon and influence, like a lot of this also for me, this all opened through meditation. Like I had a really deep meditation practice for 3 years, and I just like really love meditation. I spent a lot of time doing meditation, self-inquiry, and through that I started hearing voices. And I say like the voices the other side open to me. So all of this, and then I have had teachers, but their teachers are in the astral realm, so they're not of the body. So a lot of this I learned through different councils and star beings, and like parallel lives of my own, where I have attained certain levels of mastery, have taught me a bit of my understanding of work I do. And then so that's like one part of it. Another part of it is systemic family constellations, which is what has given me a lot of language around the ancestral piece and the collective and the interweaving of ancestral and collective. Sounding, I work a lot with sound frequency. I have my Reiki certification, so I also work with like distance healing. I don't at all call what I do Reiki, but I do move energy, and so there's a part of like healing and moving energy that's present. Channeling. So I don't do this anymore, but I used to channel the Akashic Records. So the way I work with that is a bit differently, but I still have a lot of access to like information. Like I see many things, I know many things, and I can put words I can like, my friend says like, you're really good at reading energy. I can like kind of see energy and then like put words to it. Yeah, those are some, I feel like there are more modalities, but I'm kind of blanking on them. But the ones that are like kind of more concrete: sound healing, systemic family constellations, Reiki, quantum healing. Yeah, those are some things. And then it's like my unique expression of like those things, which I feel are a part of all of that, and also separate, different. But also I feel all healing is really the same. I mean, if it's like at its core, I mean, all healing is the same. And so I'm just speaking to my specific, unique way of interacting with something that's very intangible and ephemeral, but very present, very real. And it's no more or less than any of the things I just mentioned, because everyone has their way we all have our way of remembering that, which always is and has been.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel, so if someone were to come to you, like if I was like, I can't, and what do I need to bring to the table in a session?
Great question. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So,
like if I can't, I'm not a meditator, I'm not a thing, like is there, practices like, where I have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And thank you for that question. So if you're drawn to me, you're most likely more in touch with energy and intuition than you realize. You might realize that, you might not, but people who are drawn to me like intrinsically understand intuition and empathy and energy. And so you just bring yourself however you are in that present moment, and we see what happens. So generally I do work with people who are on a spiritual path, whatever that means. They've sat with master plant medicines, or they have a meditation practice, or they have a devotional practice, they have some sort of practice. Or even if they don't, like I said, they know how to, they intrinsically know how to feel their body, if that makes sense. And even if they don't think they do, they do. I just feel that we are more connected to ourselves than we realize. And when you're in a space with me where I'm like being a bit, I say this a lot, I'm sorry, this is a bit fantastical or like phenomenal. Like when you have someone going into those spaces and saying those things, it kind of opens up that allowance for you, because those like weird things you thought about yourself, or those like side things that you're like, oh, that, what, fairy, what? Those like side, and I just say it and they're like, oh yeah. And I think that permission it kind of allows people to share with me and connect with the state of themselves that is of their soul. And then so that being said, what people bring or what they need when they show up is really just their presence, and to be open and to receive. That's what I always say, just be open and to receive. And something might come, you might feel something in your body, you might see something, or nothing. You might not feel anything, you might not see anything, and that's okay. That's okay, because I'm working with the energy. I'm like experience. So it's kind of what, in my realm of being empathic, I not only reflect, but I can in some ways hold an aspect of the energetic body, and I can like do the process for the other person inside of my experience, and then also share it with them into their experience. So, and then for some people they might have a lot of visions and see things and feel things, and for some people it might be less than. But then that's just like the trust, right? The trust that it's all perfect and it's in flow, and to kind of getting out of any idea of how we think something should be and allowing it to be just what it is.
Beautiful. So in this, and how long is a session usually? Is it just however long that flows, or is it there's a certain limit on the time that it's used?
Yeah, so I feel that energy is not, it's like out of time. It's like, so my sessions, I say, are usually, so when you book it, it's like 90 minutes, but it's anywhere between 60 minutes to 2 hours. So sometimes, like one time a session was as short as 45 minutes, and sometimes it's as long as 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I kind of hold space for that, and I tell people just to block off 2 hours, but we might end at 1:15, we might end at 1.5 hours, we might end at 2:15. I just let the energy be what it is, and it really depends on the person. Yeah, it really depends on so many facets, really.
And how about in regards to someone who's wanting to, but there's a resistance that's happening? Like, what's going on there? How does that play into your role as a...
So if there's like resistance for them, in the session, if there's resistance. So I haven't experienced that in a while, but like, so what I would do though is just like, I would ask for verbal consent for like, because if they're coming to me, I have like to me that's innate consent for me to like be in there, for us to be in each other's energy fields. But if there is a block, I would ask them to like verbally consent, like for this, so it's like that conscious subconscious connection is established. And if there's resistance, well, I would like, a lot of times I just lead people back into I would lead a meditation, a guided meditation that offers them to be in a more relaxed state. Like, and that a lot of time is, I feel we each have like a soul environment, a soul landscape. I call it a soul forest, but for some people it might be the Arctic or the sea or the jungle. And I sort of feel into the space where I feel like they are the most relaxed, like where their soul is from, and this like in our earthen landscape understanding, or maybe sometimes it's an other planetary understanding. And I kind of would lead them in a meditation to really relax their nervous systems and connect with the earth and the natural energies of that environment. And that I feel also really helps if there's like resistance in the session. Sometimes there can just, but most of the time, at the stage when people are coming to me, they're ready and open, and even if there's doubt in their mind, there's not doubt in the energy, and so it doesn't actually affect me and like my capacity to do the energetic work. Does it affect their capacity to receive? Maybe. And then that's where the relaxation and me offering different meditation guides comes in. And this also connects to another part of it. There are many parts and many things, but I can say in a simplistic way, I feel like this thing of healing or changing or transforming, like being a conscious human being, it's manyfold, but I'm just going to say twofold of those. It's energetic, right? And it's like, how do we align our energy to be conducive to the life we want versus being conducive to the life we've known? So it's like I work with resetting the nervous system to be open, and the energy system, the soul system, to be open more to the life of what we want, which is who we truly are, which I feel. And then the other half is the choice. Like every person is sovereign and has to choose to be different. I really feel that. I feel like we can support people to have amazing breakthroughs. And I'm sure people have done master plant medicines or other things, had amazing breakthroughs, and then they may feel a big contraction or feel like things don't change. And it's because it's like life is a ceremony, it's like something that has been said in medicine spaces. And it really is this daily practice of like, if you're going to be faced with a trigger and respond differently, I mean, that changes the world. Like it's really that. And all we are doing is setting up the environment and the containers so that you have literally your neural pathways inside your nervous system, and that the neurons in your brain have the opportunity to make a different choice. So that's my work, but then only you can choose to make that choice. And that's a practice, right? And that practice can be a sitting meditation, it can be yoga, it can be sounding, it can be movement. But I really feel the practice is, if you're in a situation, taking a breath, pausing, and choosing the response that connects you with who you truly are and who you want to be, versus a response that is habituated from have you always been.
And that would be the difference of reaction then.
Yeah.
Reaction versus responding.
Yeah.
To the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reaction is automatic from past
Past stimuli.
Stimuli.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So like Yeah, I like that. So it's like reaction versus responding. And then when you made that distinction, I thought of like being able to be responsible and like awake to our response, which is, and this is from Tara Brach. She says to be responsible is our ability to respond in the present moment, to be really there. And the thing is, many of us are frozen because we have a part of us that have received trauma or wounding when we were a child. Right. Or we're feeling reflective of an ancestral trauma or a soul trauma, and so we're actually frozen. And so that's like, so I come in is I want to support people in unfreezing that, so they actually have access to another choice. And then, like I already said, then it takes every sovereign individual to make that choice to choose the different choice. Yeah.
And how do you feel in your practice? Do you give people tools to better make that choice? Because even understanding that you want to make the choice
is different.
So then is there things to help them cope with, even the awareness to know that you're bringing them a glimpse of awareness that they have the choice, but is there tools that you give in that regards in your session?
So just to say, everything's a paradox, right? Because I mean, like literally everything's a paradox. Because we don't need to practice because we're perfect.
Yes.
But we also do because we've forgotten our perfection, and we've forgotten that intrinsically we're innately love and we're innately good. Right. And so I say that because the tools I give is to do the practice. Like if people work with me one-on-one for a set period of time, I may send them personalized meditations, and it's to do them. It's to really do the meditations, and it's to sometimes after and I make suggestions, like to write. Like even for me, I write certain things. Like I'm in a new space, so I don't have it now. But when I was in my house, I had words around the room. Like I had these, I call them astral maps, and I had right in front of my bed, I am worthy, and then I had all these things around, and that's something I would see every day. And so I would have reminders to actively live into the vibration that I want, so that I'm rewiring my programming, like my neural networks to a state of abundance and wholeness versus any type of lack or whatever type of programming and conditioning that we may have had through growing up. And so I do say things like this, and the meditations and things that I give are personalized, so they're for how that person is and where they are, and everything I share is like, especially people who work with me one-on-one, is completely curated to them and to where I feel their soul signature is needing. And so I do, those are two things. What else? I feel like it's the same things everyone say, but it really is. Meditation, sounding, and movement to me are such powerful medicines, because they really activate our natural human state and primality. And yet many people, have so many blockages in the throat. So even just when I say take 5 minutes a day. So something I share with people is if you have an emotion, what does it sound like? Like if you were to feel bored, what does boredom sound like? If you were to feel I'm scrolling too much on social media, how does that feel like in your body? Just to make that sound, to take a moment and to sound it, and then make the sound of how you want to feel, and to actually do that 5 minutes every day. To act and that, it's amazing. But then it's people won't do it, And then so I do give things, and then once again it's a paradox, because you're already perfect. You don't need to practice, but since you've forgotten, you gotta practice to remember our perfection.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, let's keep going. This is a bit longer. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So, if you were to simplify this in, this kind of Reader's Digest version, this, 2-line version of what you do, how would you word that?
This is my elevator pitch that I know I don't have.
the
Which I feel
infamous elevator pitch.
And I still don't have it, because every
So
time I
it's-
say something, I'm like, no, it's not quite that. But maybe it's not important. Like maybe it's not important for me to get it right. It's
Right.
just to get
It's just
something
it.
out.
Right. Yeah. So what does that feel like to you when it's gonna come out and it's like the words that hit your head right when you saw it was an elevator pitch? What was that came out? Like, we don't even need to know if it's just a bunch of just different words scattered in your brain. What are those words that you feel are resonating with you in that moment?
Yeah. Well, what I heard, well, something I heard you say is like, what makes you excited? Like, and what makes me excited is being here to support people for their vitality and wholeness, and to do that by remembering that we are more than physical.
Boom. That's beautiful, and you have that recorded now.
Okay, great.
Yes, and we can understand like it is like we can go into the infinite of all these questions of every particular modality that you talked about and that we can work with. And so like the thing is, we also don't need to go to a surgeon and figure out every artery they're moving and stuff like that to get the work done. Like, we don't need to understand any of that stuff to utilize your practice, to anybody's practice, right? You are skilled in your practice, and with that line, the two-liner you just gave, seems to give a sense of, okay, like this is a life-altering session, given that the person chooses to makes the choice in their everyday life to practice, to remember.
Yeah, and I feel, I think that's really accurate. Yeah, because I feel there's like the session's always powerful and always something shifts, but to really magnify that. Yeah, I mean, it's how you wake up in the morning. It's how you talk to your partner and your friends, and like how you treat your food when you're making breakfast. I mean, it's like in the details of life.
Right.
And yeah, I feel like I'm really emphasizing that right now, and now more than I used to, because I'm really excited about living in a reimagined world. Mm-hmm. And and it's detailed, and it's detailed within our own lives. And I really do feel the more presence and consciousness and love and care we bring to our environment, something I'm also working on, to like really have more care with what is of matter. It just like it's magic. I mean, I really think care is magic. And yeah, I'm kind of getting sidetracked, but yeah, I got a little sidetracked. But yes, it's just because to reimagine the world doesn't just happen in big moments. It doesn't just happen in the one session is so beautiful. The medicine ceremony is so beautiful, but it's like the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. Mm-hmm. And to not to pathologize something that like is intrinsically human. I feel like in the spirituality world, there's a lot of like goddess and like this thing, and it's like really beautiful and also a bit performative and a bit like devoid from the everyday. And I'm like, no, this every day, like every day is magical. Like the mundane is magical and beautiful. And I really want, I really feel advocation for that right now, and like a revitalization of that in this moment.
And do you feel that happens within your practice? This is why it's a profound shift because of this? Does it come back into this? Is it bringing remembrance back into the everyday minutia of things?
Well, this is why I want to work with people on longer terms. Like I have right now this like 3-month offering called Awaken as Love, and one of my like taglines for it is I want for us to realize all the spiritual knowing and for it to materialize in our daily lives. And so yes, like this is really why is it, I don't know if that really responds to your question of like why is it so profound.
No, not why. I think you did answer the question.
Oh, okay. But like I really...
That the profoundness is in this... Well, I don't know if this is the thing, and that's, I guess, more of the question. It's this profoundness, is it that realizing within this that it is in this daily kind of action that it comes to this after this?
I think that's just one part of it, honestly.
Okay.
And I'm remembering I did the Into Soulism course last year, and someone said, like, after we did a process for her, and like, in that course I support people to open their intuition, to really know how to be their own healer. And she said, I'm really surprised because I came here feeling one way and I feel different. I think that's really profound. Like, I think, the capacity to feel different, to like feel like it's not possible to like feel good, or to feel like empowered, or to feel like to know yourself, and then afterwards, every single time, like Avgus was saying, people do feel different. They feel more in their body. They feel a shift. No matter if it's smaller or larger, I can confidently say everyone I work with after a session feels a shift. And I think what I'm talking about is to magnify that shift is a daily practice. It is a daily choice. But I know you'll feel different afterwards. I know you'll feel closer to yourself. And and it's because I'm always feeling, every day I feel closer to myself. Every day I'm growing in intimacy with myself. And I really do feel that what I can offer is the depth of knowing I am within myself. And that's so like I'm very consistent in my personal practice, because I know when people work with me, they're energetically tied to me. And I know what that means. I know how important, not important, just like how precious, and what's that, the word I'm thinking of, like, it's meaningful, it's, I'm in, the word's not coming to me, but I take that really seriously. And so I'm constantly working to practice what I preach, constantly working to embody and live it. And because I am doing that, when people are in my field, they have contact with that resonance within themselves, because we are constantly reflecting each other. We are constantly reading each other. And so that's, so for me, my job, really, like what I do is hold a vibration of being in love and intimacy with myself, and therefore that's what I share with others. And like, there's lots of things that happen, but like that's the core of it.
That was beautiful. It kind of good.
I was just gonna say, and also being like a conduit, like, because it's like because I know I'm talking in I terms, but I'm also in connection with myself beyond myself. And that's, and like a lot of, when I say I pray, like a lot of times I don't know what to do in a session, but I know how to listen, and I know how to trust in God, and trust in love, and trust in light. You want to say source or creator, whatever word works for you, but I know consciousness is on our side, and that's this place I stand, and that's where we work together.
Right. It kind of reminds me of Plato's allegory with the cave.
I'm not recalling.
The one with having, I don't know if they had people, or let's say people, because I don't know, it's kids, probably kids, let's say kids, because that's how it starts with, right, in our society. And the kids never see, they just see shadows on the wall. That's all they can see, and that's all they ever known. And if you were to take one of the kids out of the cave, at first they would be, it's just you're going to take the kid out, it's going to be this struggle, right, because it's that's all they've known. So they don't want to go to that unknown. But then once they see the light, it's like just beauty, right? It's the profoundness of the shift that happens once they get out of themselves and see and remember that, there is something else than what life has shown me thus far. So it's kind of like, I mean, there's many different things you can get from that story, but I think it just kind of reminded me in that story is that, in the sense of this profoundness, is that it seems like in your practice it allows you people to then have a new footing in the beginning of a transformation that can be life altering. It's already life altering in that moment, but that in the sense that now with a continuous practice or tool to help them maintain this newer version of life, this newer look on life, this stepping out of the cave and seeing light for the first time, and shades and colors.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you for saying. And like two things came to mind. Well, one is just that when I started my journey 8 years ago, I just kept saying to them, like, there must be more than this. I mean, growing up in Brooklyn, growing up in New York City, growing up in squares, lots of squares, I was like, there just must be more than this. I just kept feeling that, like, being in private school where everything was about how you looked and like who you dated. Like, I was like, there must be more. And that question led me to the life I'm living. And if any of us feel that there must be more, there is. And it's really just having the courage and the confidence to pursuing that and trusting that it's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies. I mean, it's going to be hard and challenging at times, but even those moments are so full of life. And that's what I've loved about this journey. Like, there have been some hard times, but it's so much more exciting than the ups and downs and the flows when I'm just kind of in the routine and kind of doing what I'm supposed to do, because it's vital. It's like vitally hard and crazy, or like vitally beautiful, and I'm there for that. Like, I want to feel awake. Like, I want to feel engaged in this life, and that this life is engaging me.
That's beautiful. Do you feel that in this line of work that how can people, because you also limit the way you share your gifts, and yes, the people can find you, the people who are supposed to find you will find you, but if someone were trying to reach you, and I mean, I guess a person who loves efficiency, instead of it taking me 6 months to now find you, is there ways that people are able to get access to you?
Wait, what do you mean that I limit the way?
Well, just like in the sense of traditional ads of marketing.
Oh,
ways.
that I don't do it.
So, right. So
that's so Melvin knows that I'm not on Instagram right now, and that I haven't posting on Facebook, and I'm just doing YouTube. I'm not telling anyone I'm doing YouTube, and I'm doing these podcasts. And also not telling anyone I'm doing them. I'm just posting them, and so that's what he means by I limit my ways. So how do people find me? Is
right.
Your question.
I mean, and they will, and I truly believe in time they will. And everything is in perfect timing. I understand that whole grand scheme of things, but as I feel as time is speeding up and they will be coming quicker, it's like, is it? I mean, I guess without getting too much into too deep in levels, there so many more people can be helped. And the ones that are, especially the ones that are looking for it and looking for you at this moment, but are having a hard time finding you because, of all things. Yeah. So it's also, I think, of meetings of energies, not just a one way where it's this all like they will come, like the master will appear. But I think it's also the master is there because the master did enough to push themselves into the light, into that thing, right? Because there is, because we can look at some really powerful people who, like Buddhas, right, who meditate, who, if we had one conversation with someone who spent 30 years meditating all day, we would have a very good conversation with that person and get very profound knowledge. But can we find them like that? Right? I mean, we know where they are and stuff like that.
But do we also? Right? Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And like my first answer is, I'm astrally aligning to the reality where I'm seen. And I don't have to do anything I don't want to do to be seen. I mean, that's where I am right now. That's one answer. And the other answer is, whenever I'm ready, I'll start sharing more on Facebook. I don't know. Like, how do people find me? I have a beautiful website. I have a beautiful podcast. I have my YouTube channel. I mean, I think it's okay. If people like it, I think it's okay. But the thing is, with the way the world works now, you have to push things a lot on like different other platforms. And I'm taking a bit of a break from that. And for me right now, the work is just energetically aligning to being seen. And that people will come across my podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, that people will come across my YouTube channel, that someone will see it and share it, that I'm visible, I'm visible, and I want to be visible, I want to be seen. Like, that's where I am now, like personally, and then for other, I don't know how people find me, and that's kind of the thing. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I'm like, how do I reach the people who are looking for me? And then maybe it might be a time, like you said, timing thing. It might be, I do feel like there's that crystal moment in the grid where it just aligns. I've been doing the work in terms of inner, but also like business wise, like setting up the foundation, setting up the systems to like have, and like to have a flooding of people. And then maybe there's just a moment where it like clicks, or maybe
build it and they will come.
Yeah. So who knows? I think there's so many different ways of doing this, and I mean, your question is inspiring to maybe, and I want to continue thinking outside the box. Like, do I really have to go on Facebook? I don't want to deny Facebook or anything, but I want to do the things that bring me joy. I'm enjoying this. I like the podcast. I like YouTube. I like writing my email letters. I want more people to be attracted to the things I like, and then that will be very easy for me. And so that's where I am right now. And I don't want to say also, because that a bit of what I feel this work is, and it's kind of what I just said in terms of I'm aligning to the reality where I'm seeing, is that I feel that when I say it's quantum soul remembrance, we're quantum jumping. We're like going, so we're part of this is like there's so many things that are silent. Like you said, I loved how you said it. Like, we don't need to know everything the doctor's doing, and it's it's impossible, right? The things are instinctual, it's just there. But something that I hold silently is that I feel to meet the future we want, we have to connect to the past that's in alignment with that future. And so part of, to me, quantum healing is changing the past so that we can meet our desired outcome. And so we do ancestral healing or soul retrievals, we're changing that timeline. Like, if you were a soldier and that died in battle, and it was so traumatic because you looked into the eyes of the man that put the sword in you in medieval times, and you saw him as your brother, and you realized that like your soul, you had a spiritual experience, and for whatever reason you have trouble connecting with men. Like, this is, as a man, you're trouble connecting with men, right. And you don't trust men in this lifetime, right? So I do the work with you. I see the story. I don't know what we do. Sometimes this is when I would listen. Like, I'm like, what is the story of fulfillment and alignment in that moment? Is it that the sword misses you? Is it that you and this, whatever this timeline I'm seeing that this person gallops away and leaves the battlefield and walks into the forest, right? And then so now that's your new timeline. And then whatever happens in the cosmos, to energetically align your nervous system to the timeline when you weren't killed by your brother, so you can start having really beautiful relationships with men in this lifetime as a male. That's literally what I do in so many different ways. Just like understanding the story where the trauma is held and realigning it. And so I don't know, I guess I just wanted to say that because I find it really fascinating. I find it really fascinating.
I mean, it seems like, and we know in the scheme of there is no past, right? Like, there's the now, right? And the now is the past, future. Everything's happening in this moment. And there's also, like, in quantum jumping, like, this is also understood that you can do, like, it sounds very similar to, like, a guy who talks about quantum jumping in the sense that, you have, but he says there's doppelgangers, right? So there's parallel universes, parallel realities, and so you just align to that reality and feel what that feels like, and then you're taking those traits into this form, and this can make you be whatever you want to be. You can be, because there is a millionaire you, there is a healer you, there is the poor you, there's the person who's suffering and so
no, that's exactly like those phrasings are exactly it. So I said change the past, but isn't really I'm changing the past. Is it also a change, like the past that you're connected to? This is like believing. That's right. And it's like semantics. It's semantics. Kind of like it's true. And then I say the same. I feel everything is parallel. Like I feel like we're parallel lives. And so anyway, it is. That is it. And the thing is, you can take this information, do it yourself right now. Like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and this is really also want to empower people. I think you know, great, comes from me for a session, but also we do have the capacity to do this. It's
Right.
our imagination, like, you know, and it's believing it's possible. And it's like taking that and really feeling like, oh, I'm going to run this other timeline through my whole nervous system. And my body's going to believe I'm from there. And then you are. And like, that's like, I mean, so if you want to try this yourself, you really can. And what do you have to lose? This isn't harmful stuff to try out. Just like sit in meditation and then think of certain patterns you have. How would you want that pattern to be different? And just feel like, I wonder where this pattern could have come from. Is there like another timeline? Or like, that this has been lived out. Anyway, about exactly what I described, you can go into your inner journey and do it yourself. And that would be amazing if more people did that.
Yeah, there you go, guys. It's
I'm like
you gave her your secrets.
You gave her my secrets. Yeah, I did a podcast with my friend last week, and I said another secret. I'm like, just love the parts of ourselves that we don't like. That's another big secret of healing. I'm like, all I'm doing is like welcoming that part of you that you feel like isn't allowed, and realizing that it is, and that we can't be rich without being poor. Mm-hmm. We can't know abundance without knowing lack. That it's not about like being no of that. It's like, I'm going to accept the part of me that doesn't feel worthy. Right. And that's how I can really know my worth. Right. It's inclusion-based healing. Like, that's another big secret. There it is. Like, it's inclusion. It's like we're just including, like giving it all away because it's time. Like, I want to live in a reimagined world, and I want to live with humans in that world, and we gotta reimagine ourselves.
Right. And again, like you said, it's obviously easy. It's that simple. I guess I wouldn't say easy because then it's all the own stuff that gets in the way when you try to do it yourself. Exactly. And that's where a professional comes in, or a quote unquote a professional, or someone who has done a lot of that and can help facilitate that and make it easier for the person to get it. But that, yes, everybody technically can just do it themselves and get it. Yeah. But it's definitely easier if you get someone like a professional like you to help guide them along their journey. And
it's like we don't have to do it alone.
Right.
You know, and we also don't need to see every single healer and tarot reader. We don't have to do it alone. So it's a balance. Like, trust yourself and feel the people you trust, and like commit a little bit to the way they share, so that you can really feel yourself within the sharing of them. I feel like when we try too many things, we just, it's about depth and consistency and quality, not quantity, you know? So find people you resonate with. You don't have to do it alone, and also trust yourself. Like, you really do have the tools. Once again, the paradox. Everything's a paradox. You have the tools. We have all the tools inside of us.
Right. All right.
Thank you, Melvin. This was so good. I'm so grateful for Melvin for helping me. Wow. I haven't felt this is the inter-exchange that I was speaking about in the beginning when you said you had questions but I was answering them. Like, it's the shared mind. It really helps. Like, I like to not, we don't exist in a vacuum. We are interdependent. And even though, I think there's a balance between confidence and humility that we're constantly striking. But even though I've done all of this, I'm not alone. I've had people reflect to me and help me and support me. I've had trees I've leaned on, It's through the interdependence. I wouldn't have been able to express myself as well without your presence here, and without your level of your consciousness and your explorations and depth of the work you've done. That's what supported the clarity and the fluidity of my own sharing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, so thank you all for listening, and I just like want to welcome you to the Anayza world that's as it is expressed within all the mediums that I'm sharing online, and I'll put links below if you're interested in booking a consult with me or a session. You'll have all the information there. I also put my email if you just want to send me an email about how this felt to you and just want to have an exchange. I would really appreciate that. Thank you all so much for listening this far if you have, and just know that you're not alone. However you're feeling in this moment, there's someone feeling like you are like you are as well. And we really are more connected and more held than we remember sometimes, even in those feelings of feeling isolated and alone. And I know someone who's resonating with this has spent time feeling alone. It's just a part of understanding energy. I feel there's this feeling of feeling separate, because our world is kind of made for people. Our world is designed for physicality and materiality in a way, and it is on the surface. It doesn't feel as accessible to the sensitives and intuitives and empathics, but there's so many of us, and this world is made for us too. And it's becoming more so every day. So thank you all, and I'm grateful to be on this path with you. So much love and blessings, and until next time.